So here's what came out on First Take this morning, and it caught a lot of people off guard. NBA insiders are reporting a surprising new wrinkle in the New York Knicks' free agency plan. We already knew they were keeping tabs on a number of players, but now there's a fresh name surfacing in the conversation, one that's suddenly getting a lot more attention. The debate right now isn't just about who they should sign, but who actually fits best with what Mike Brown wants to build going into next season. And according to the panel, there's been a major update worth breaking down. Now, if you've been following the Knicks off-season chatter, you've probably noticed how many free agents have been linked to them over the past few weeks. It feels like every other day there's a new rumor, but the one that keeps coming back is Ben Simmons. Like it or not, Simmons has been at the center of conversations for multiple teams, including the Knicks and the Kings, as a potential low-cost, high-upside bench piece on a veteran's minimum deal. And, just like we've seen with every fan base that's connected to him, the reaction is split. Some see the upside, others can't get past the concern. What First Take emphasized, however, is that Simmons isn't the only name floating around in the conversation. Another intriguing possibility, and one that instantly grabbed the panel's attention, is Russell Westbrook. This isn't the first time his name has come up. SNY has touched on this scenario before, and one of the analysts earlier today doubled down on the idea. Though, with a heavy dose of realism, Westbrook is still very much a long shot. The Knicks' backcourt is already jam-packed, with established guards carving out significant roles, and there's no obvious path to giving Westbrook consistent, meaningful minutes. Still, there's an undeniable case to be made for him. When you put him side by side with Simmons and Malcolm Brogdon, Westbrook has arguably been the more impactful presence over the past few seasons. Not necessarily in raw scoring numbers, but in the way he influences the game's tempo and energy. While it's true that he's lost a fraction of that explosive first step that made him an MVP, Westbrook has managed to reinvent himself. He's embraced the gritty side of the game, playing hard-nosed perimeter defense, pushing the ball in transition with urgency, and injecting instant energy into whatever lineup he's in. There's also the intangible factor, that relentless competitive fire that's been his trademark for over a decade. He doesn't coast through possessions, he doesn't shy away from physicality, and he has a knack for creating momentum-shifting plays that don't always show up in the box score. On a short-term, low-cost deal, that kind of presence could be a quiet but significant boost for New York, especially in stretches where the offense goes stagnant. The real sticking point is whether Westbrook would be willing to embrace that kind of reduced role, essentially coming in as a spark off the bench, when the Knicks already have 3 capable guards ahead of him in the rotation. It's a balancing act between opportunity, ego, and fit. And as of now, that's what keeps this idea in the interesting but unlikely category. Last season, Westbrook averaged 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Not quite the numbers he posted in his prime, but still the production of a legitimate NBA point guard. He's never been a great outside shooter, but he quietly knocked down 43% of his corner threes, while shooting 45% overall from the field and 32% from deep, right around his career average. At 37 years old next season, entering his 18th year, he's not the superstar he once was, but he's still a competitor who can impact games in bursts. When you stack him up against Ben Simmons statistically, Westbrook still comes out ahead in most categories. Simmons, of course, brings elite defense, position flexibility, and the ability to initiate the offense. And that's exactly why the Knicks are intrigued. His averages last year, 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists on 52% shooting, don't jump off the page, but his defensive impact does. Then there's Malcolm Brogdon, another player the Knicks have had interest in before. The panel noted that he had an uncharacteristically rough shooting year, hitting just 28% from deep. But they chalked it up to the losing situation he was in, saying that on a winning team like New York, he could bounce back to his career norm. We've seen him play at a high level in Indiana and Boston, so it's not unrealistic. Even in a down year, Brogdon still averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. while hitting 40% on corner threes. He's a steady defender and a veteran who knows his role. Exactly the kind of piece that could quietly strengthen a rotation without the spotlight that comes with bigger names. And here's the point that kept coming up on First Take. The Knicks already have a crowded backcourt. That's the #1 reason they're leaning more toward Ben Simmons than some of these other names. Simmons isn't locked into just one role. He can slide into multiple positions, defend across the board, and still initiate the offense. Westbrook, on the other hand, is a pure point guard. That's who he's always been. And at this stage of his career, that's not going to change. The Knicks have been very intentional about surrounding Jalen Brunson with other ball handlers, so he doesn't have to dominate the rock every single possession. In that sense, Westbrook does check some boxes for Mike Brown's system. He brings pace, leadership, and the kind of relentless energy that pushes a team forward. But you can't ignore the reality. He's not a shooter. And in today's NBA, that's a big limitation. Now, he's still quick, still knows how to speed up a game, and he could be an extension of the coaching staff on the floor. That's the veteran advantage. And while this Knicks roster isn't particularly young, most of these guys are in their prime, which means it's less about him mentoring a bunch of kids and more about adding another experienced competitor who knows what it takes to win. Statistically, Westbrook's playoff run was respectable, averaging 11.7 points, 4 rebounds, and 2.5 assists over 13 games in roughly 24 minutes a night. On paper, those numbers might not leap off the page, but they speak to a veteran who still knows how to impact a game in bursts. His shooting splits, however, told a different story, just under 40% from the field and 32% from beyond the arc. In the modern NBA, where spacing has become a non-negotiable for most playoff teams, that inefficiency becomes more noticeable. And in certain lineups, particularly if you pair him with Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart, the floor can get cramped fast. Defenses will sag off, clog the paint, and dare multiple players to shoot, which can throw an entire offense out of rhythm. That's essentially the same issue that has followed Ben Simmons throughout his career. Size, strength, and defensive versatility are valuable. But if opponents don't respect your jumper, the offense can stagnate. Even so, Westbrook showed there's still juice in his game. He had big moments, most notably his standout Game 7 performance against the Clippers, where he posted 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals while shooting efficiently from the floor. Beyond the box score, his energy and intensity set a tone for his teammates, often giving his squad a boost when they needed it most. He also delivered in clutch situations during Denver's playoff run, including a critical game-winning steal in Game 1 of their first-round series that completely shifted the momentum. Plays like that are why coaches still trust him in high-leverage moments. He has the instincts, the experience, and the competitive fire to swing a game. But as the analysts noted, it's a move with clear pros and cons. The upside is leadership, playoff experience, and the ability to take over stretches of a game. The downside is fit and spacing, factors that can make or break a team's postseason success. And here's the twist. The Knicks aren't the only team in on Russ. The Kings reportedly have dreams of pairing Jonathan Kuminga with Westbrook this offseason. Meanwhile, there's another name that some in New York's front office are quietly pushing: Landry Shamet. The logic here is simple. The Knicks could use another quick-release shooter. Shamet proved his value when given consistent playoff minutes, shooting a ridiculous 54% from 3 in limited action. He's not going to run your offense, but that's what Jordan Clarkson's for. And the Knicks may be overlooking the fact that Clarkson can already take on that role. To me, Shamet is like a budget version of Donte DiVincenzo, still effective, still reliable, but without the big price tag. If it's not Shamet, then maybe Malcolm Brogdon makes more sense. Either way, the theme from the First Take discussion was clear. Get someone who can actually hit a jumper. This team already has non-shooters in the rotation, and while Josh Hart can knock down shots when needed, he's not a high-volume threat. Adding another player who can't stretch the floor is risky, and it's why the front office needs to think carefully before going all in on someone like Simmons or Westbrook. Josh Hart's reluctance to consistently take shots from deep remains a talking point. At his best, He's proven he can be an effective shooter. He's had entire seasons hovering around the 40% mark from three. Over the last two postseasons, Hart has connected on 37% of his attempts from beyond the arc, showing he can deliver when it matters most. But during the regular season, that same confidence isn't always there, and it impacts the offense. While regular season wins and losses aren't the main concern, having him fully committed to taking those open looks is crucial. If that hesitation carries into the year, and you add players like Russell Westbrook or Ben Simmons into the mix alongside Mitchell Robinson, spacing could quickly become an issue. That kind of congestion would limit the fluidity of Mike Brown's offense, making it far less effective. So the question is, who should New York target next? Would you be interested in seeing Westbrook in a Knicks jersey? Drop your thoughts below. There's still plenty to cover in free agency, and upcoming discussions will connect these rumors to broader roster strategies rather than just throwing out random player names or Photoshop swaps back-to-back. The countdown to training camp has officially begun, and the excitement is real. We're just weeks away from basketball being back, and with that comes a wave of roster activity. Expect the Knicks to fill out training camp spots, finalize two-way deals, lock in a veteran minimum signing, and add a rookie minimum contract. The next few days and weeks will be busy, and every move will be worth tracking. Stay tuned, keep notifications on, and get ready for non-stop updates as the Knicks gear up for a pivotal season.